Mhm.
Cannot start video. Failed to start the video camera.
Well, we're
Yeah.
on. Can you see us?
I can see you.
Well, maybe you want to do the interview and then just have us on like that.
Okay, that's what
And
we'll do.
yeah, whatever seems best.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
it'd be nice to have you introduce yourself.
Yes.
Um,
It's very live. Even we'll post it. And
all right.
you're getting raw and uncut. So, hello, this is Linda Manis with Peace and Ed, and I'm project manager with the Peace and Ed Census 2020 outreach program. And this program is with Peace and Ed, and it's all possible because of Bruce Wellams and Angela. Angela, can you please introduce yourself and let everybody know about Peace and Ed and how long you've been doing this?
Oh my, I'm Angie Kolosinski. I've been here in the back of the yards living and working for almost 33 years, mostly around youth programming and family services. And I've been participating in the Peace and Ed different activities since its beginning in the late 90s.
Very good. And Bruce, tell us a little bit about yourself, Peace and Ed, and how long you've been working in the neighborhood and living in the neighborhood.
Oh, sure. The Peace and Education Coalition was founded in, basically 1997 through partnerships joining together in the neighborhood. I'd been in the neighborhood for about 7 years at that point, so total about 30 years. Peace and Education Coalition was founded really to network among the agencies of the neighborhood, between schools, parks, non-for-profits, churches, businesses, residents. So that's how we've been working. And we received a grant from Forefront for the 2020 census. So we've been working with Forefront as well as the Cook County Commissioner Alma Naya to get the count out.
Wonderful. And can you tell us a little bit about Back of the Yards neighborhood, where we're getting out the count?
Yeah, I was remembering back to a time I was invited to talk to the civics classes at Back of the Yards College Prep the first year it was open. And they wanted to know about the history of the Back of the Yards. So I would start out every class session with a timeline and show the beginning of the stockyards in 1865 and the closing of the stockyards in 1971. And I'd ask the kids, because I'd extend the timeline, I'd ask the kids, why has it taken all these years for a high school to be constructed here for the use of the students in the back of the yards? And they had different answers, and they were playing at things. And each class finally came to say, because they didn't think we could learn.
Oh my.
And I said to them, that's right, because historically in the back of the yards, the people were only seen by people in power as laborers. There wasn't a whole lot of need, a whole lot of respect, a whole lot of other understanding of who the people were. So historically, this neighborhood has been left out of a lot of services and left out of a lot of possibilities. And the hopes and dreams of the young people and the families have by and large been ignored.
I remember a psychiatrist telling me one time that in one suburb, they had approximately 300 counselors for the population of 30,000. The Back of the Yards has 30,000 people approximately today, and we have one maybe counselor that's full time. I mean, the part that's I've really learned by living here is the perseverance and the resilience of immigrant people. It's largely been in an immigrant neighborhood for 100 years and more. And the resilience of these people is always impressive. I think the struggles have brought people together. And I've always said it's one family. So it's important to recognize every member of the family and listen to their story.
Wow. So Back of the Yards, the stockyards, and it was called the stockyards of the Midwest because the cattle and the other animals would be railed in, and it was it was primarily immigrant workers that did that work and still do, even though there's not that many stockyards left. How many stockyards are left in back of the yards?
Well, the live animals aren't kept here anymore, but there's still a couple packing houses that take meats and process them into sausages and different things. So every so often you're driving around, especially by the post office, and you'll get a little whiff of the fat rendering.
Yeah, from the ground. Yeah, and it's interesting that the neighborhood's called back of the yards because it's considered behind the old stockyards area.
Looking from downtown.
That's right. In the last 20 years, they've kind of extended it to Area 61, which they named New City. So you'll hear two names back here from the government, New City, and from the residents, back of the yards.
And Area 61?
Area 61 actually extends beyond the back of the yards, but you won't find the back of the yards on a community area map of Chicago because it's not one of the official, That's
even
right.
though most people know where it is and what it stands for. And it's historically an immigrant community. Originally, I believe, Lithuanians.
Oh,
Lithuanians, Slovenians, Slovaks.
No, originally Germans and Irish.
Germans and
for
Irish,
the first 30 years.
Right.
And then it became for about 50 years, primarily the Eastern Europe, Lithuanians, Slovenians, Polish, you name it.
Yeah.
And then it started to shift over to our friends from the South. Mexicans started to come in in the 30s.
And African Americans before that.
Yeah.
It's been a mixed community. And somebody told me one time, you can go anywhere in the United States and find somebody who's lived in the back of the yards. A lot of people have come through this area.
I believe that. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And we'll continue with the questions on the census and why it's so important to fill out the census, especially this census in 2020. And we're getting the count out in the back of the yards neighborhood. That's our mission. Right now, we're at about 30%. This video is May 20th, 2020, and our target is about 60% by August. And that is when the self-response period will be over. Why is it so important, especially for this community, to reach those targets and be counted?
Well, I mean, just as a matter of fact, I mean, area-wide benefits, which can include a lot of things in different ways, even a school lunch, benefits to firefighters or families in need. You can actually go on the website of 2020census.gov and find some of those kinds of overreaching reasons. But one of the primary things for me is the representation of our area and the voice for those who are in need in our government. If you want to play that out with the COVID crisis currently, it's very apparent when there's a lack of national policy, how our workers are left to figure out for themselves how to fend in factories. They have to go to work. And how are those places providing protection for them? Some are, and others really don't pay attention too much. There are no standards sometimes, not enough. And I think that that government representation is important. We stand to lose an Illinois congressman at this point if we're undercounted. So by being counted, we get one more voice in there that advocates for the back of the yards. I think that's pretty important to me.
And one thing I wanted to add too, there's all those benefits in the next 10 years, but one thing a lot of people don't know about the census is that after several generations, after you kind of lose your clear family stories, the census records help us to look back at our families over time, to know who lived where, what address. But one thing, that a lot of people are very frightened of is that individual information that, the government's going to know where my husband was born and put two and two together and decide that maybe he doesn't have papers to be here. Individual information revealed by the census is not opened up to the public or any other government agency for 72 years. So we're really talking about a historical document that only comes to life probably after most of us are gone and whatever, about our personal histories. So if people talk about being an immigrant or being from this country or that country, nobody's going to know that on an individual basis for more than 70 years. I think that's kind of an interesting little piece to add, because I know it's something that a lot of people are afraid of.
Yes, very important. By law, it's sealed for 72 years.
That's right.
Very good. And so I know we touched on it. Who particularly are your target audience? Maybe the people that haven't responded already to the census in Back of the Yards.
Oh, I think, Linda, everybody is a target. I mean, if you've already filled it out, talk to somebody who hasn't filled it out. We want to reach them as advocates within the Back of the Yards. And if you haven't filled it out, fill it out, obviously. If you can help your mom and dad, or you can help your child or your nephew, an uncle, an aunt, a niece, whoever, to fill it out and encourage them. Even if they say, I've already done it, stop bugging me. Well, have you asked somebody else to fill it out? It's that important.
Yeah, and there's a lot of myths too about who is or isn't to be counted.
Mm.
If they're in your household, technically it was April 1st. If they're in your household at the beginning of April, they're counted whether or not that's their legal long-term address. So if they were staying with you because, they lost their apartment and they're hoping to get in a new one soon,
Yeah.
but they're with you right now, they're counted in your household. If it's a newborn baby, they're counted. In the next 5 to 10 years, they're going to be in school. So they deserve all those services. If it's your grandma who's, staying with you 6 months at a time and she's with you, she's counted in your household. So make sure everybody's there, whether or not they're part of your nuclear family.
Yes. So it's that family snapshot. So every 10 years in the census, decennial census, a family snapshot of whoever's living in your home at that time.
That's right.
And then I suppose your descendants will have a good time looking at that maybe in the next 80 years. See where you were living, who you were living. Maybe your cousin friend was sleeping on the couch and they see that you had a connection to that person, and that person's family provides a rich history and account of our lives.
Absolutely.
Okay, and how can people complete the census? Where can they complete the census?
Well, I think the easiest way is just go online to 2020census.gov. It guides you through everything. You can take a practice run at it. But once you sit down to fill it out, it's filled out then. And doesn't take long. I mean, 15 minutes at the most, I think 20 maybe. But you just fill out the census. And it's in any language you can imagine. So what's ever easiest. It's in Espanol. It's in English. I think you received a census. I know you received a census ID in the mail. If you've lost it, it even gives you a way online to look for your address and fill it out anyway. So that's what the IDs are about. You take your ID number, you put it in there, and if you don't have it, or you threw it away accidentally or whatever, just go on to the part where it says, I don't have it, what do I do now? And it'll guide you through the whole process. It's that easy. You can also go on phone if you don't have a computer, or it's hard for you to get online. Call between 8 a.m. and 3 a.m. in the morning. They've got people who will talk to you in any language again, and you can fill it out on phone, online. Just be guided through it. You can also mail the form that they sent in. And again, they don't ask you for your social security number or any social security number, your bank account or credit numbers. If anybody asks you for any of that, it's not the census. So don't answer that. And they're not asking on anything of Democrat, Republican, any political party, and they can't ask for money or donations. It's all done free. So that's really important to know. So by online, by phone, or by mail are the three ways you can answer the U.S. Census.
Wow. Well, I did it online this year. It was 10 questions, took about 10 minutes. I was surprised how quickly it went. And I was actually also surprised and happy to see for the ethnicity, question. That's always a conundrum for me. And, you know, like we said, it's the snapshot of the American community. So the example when they ask you, you know, what is your ethnicity or, you know, heritage or race, you know, that's complicated, especially when you're American. So I was happy to see on the online option, it gave you a chance to fill in and self-identify as you identify. It wasn't a check the box kind of thing. It gave you the option to self-identify, and it even, you know, gave examples such as Aztec, you know, German, etc. Other things that I hadn't seen on there, such as an indigenous identification, or even the
Yep.
original peoples of the Americas. So that was really neat to see. And I was happy to be able to self-identify the way I identified, not just checking a box.
Mhm. Yes.
So now we know how people can complete the census, online, by phone, by the traditional way by mail. And when should people complete the census?
As soon as possible. That you really have, you can self-respond, meaning you can do this all on your own until the end of August. And after that, or by August anyway, and after that, enumerators, which are people who will visit you, will start counting and coming out to homes in August. So it'll all be over by August 31st. They've extended the deadline because of the COVID crisis to the end of October. But they'll have you fill it out until August, and in August, the enumerators will start to come around in the neighborhoods looking for you to fill it out if you haven't done it.
And by enumerators, that's the technical term for them, but they're the people who come knocking on the doors. And none of us like people knocking on the doors when we don't know who they are. There's all sorts of feelings we have in the community. Let's just say it doesn't feel good to not know who's at your door.
Yes.
So if you want to avoid that, and all of us encourage that, avoid that feeling, get the census done ahead of time. If you need some help, there's people who will walk you through it. And that phone call, they're very patient people who answer the phone, and they'll make sure that you understand the question and that you feel good about answering it. So do it now while we don't have a lot of other things to be doing. Get it done and let's go.
Yeah. And if you have any questions, you can go online again to 2020 census.gov. They also provide a couple phone numbers. Linda, you might want to put those on the screen.
Sure.
In English and in Spanish. If you speak English, there's a number to go to. For Spanish speaking, there's a number to go to. So that might be good to put up there.
There is also, sorry, I'm not really prepared for this, but there's a text that you can try for the state of Illinois. And I believe it's let me just try it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, 987-987. The state of Illinois set that up earlier this year, and depending on the language that you write in, they will respond in that language. And you can ask them any question about the census, whether it's something that you're personally uncomfortable about, or if you don't know how to answer a question. They provide an awful lot of material pretty much instantaneously. So that's another way that you can have questions answered in the state of Illinois. 987-987. Just text that and they'll get back to you.
That is so neat. I tried it the other day and they texted back immediately.
Yes,
Right.
yes, yes, yes.
So I think everybody should maybe even just do it for fun.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Well, we are in unprecedented times, in the times of COVID. I was even thinking it's probably a good idea to definitely be counted in history. Where were you during the great COVID pandemic? Because it's just going to provide so much rich information, who was living where, and you know, I don't know. We won't be here forever, but at least we'll go down in history when we are counted. People will be able to see that we existed and where we lived, what we did, you know, how we identified, how we lived our lives, and that's pretty neat. It's a way to go down in history, and a safe way to do so. because as with most sensitive government documents, it will be sealed for 72 years.
That's right.
Great.
That's right.
So I think that's it for today. Any parting words?
Peace. I wish you well, and continue with your dreams, and let's work together to realize everybody's potential.
That's right. The back of the yards counts. Every person here counts. Every person here matters. No matter what feelings we get from people in power, each of us matters. Each of us has a part to play. Our stories matter. Our statistics matter. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. Have a wonderful day, and we'll be seeing you soon. Let's do more of these.
Great.
Sounds
Thanks, Linda.
good. Thanks.
Yeah.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.